So, hey, Matteo, how are you today?
I'm good, Keith. Thank you.
That's good.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So, thank you for joining us today, and I'm grateful for the opportunity and the few minutes of time you've cut out for us here. I know everybody's
My
always
pleasure.
extremely busy. Obviously, the purpose of the conversation today, it is a conversation, is just to learn more about you, your business, but also about some of the challenges and things that you face every day. I know you have a great business, and it comes with its own unique set of challenges and circumstances. But everybody can learn from everybody else's successes
Sure.
and the things that don't go well too. So I just look at this as an opportunity for us to chat about all the great things that are going on and how you overcame those challenges. They can be trying times, and obviously I know in your business it can be particularly challenging. So tell us a bit about yourself and what business you're in and how you got into that field, because I think it's a unique and great field.
Yes. So the business is called Zio Matto Gelato, and pretty self-explanatory. I mean, we are in the gelato business. I am originally from Italy. I grew up and lived there. I was born and raised in Torino, Italy, where I lived for the first 25 years of my life, and then started moving around a little bit. First France, in Paris. Then I moved to Australia, and then I started coming to the United States. Ended up coming to Memphis because I used to work, and I still do, in film and video making. And in one of the previous lives, I met a Memphian, and we started working together on projects, video projects, and then that was my Memphis connection back, 20 years ago. So I started coming to Memphis and visiting it, and slowly, fell in love with the city and the people, and set up camp here with no real intention of being here permanently or anything, but just always being open. And then, as it often happens, one opportunity led to the next one, and so here I am. And from video and filmmaking, which, as I said, are still, one of my careers, I decided to add uh, something else. And I toyed with the idea of food for a while. I mean, my Italian heritage certainly had an influence on that. And so after many brainstorming sessions, I landed on gelato because I also found a great partner in Torino who was able to, teach me the ropes of the thing. And I ended up starting this business, which I wanted actually to start maybe in 2018 at first. And then, things kind of slowed down. And then when I was really just ready to pull the trigger, COVID happens. And so I kind of pulled the trigger. But then after a few months into the pandemic, I got a couple of messages saying, "Oh, didn't you think about the gelato thing? Would you be able to provide something?" And so a couple of restaurants reached out. And that was like the opportunity to say, okay, you know what? The business model that I had in mind was, all about storefront, etc. But, how about instead I just start doing things differently? So I kind of embraced the challenge. And from there, it's been a couple of years now, and I've added a business partner, Ryan Watt, who's now in Nashville, but he's a Memphian, and we are trying to grow. Um, I would say at a human pace. I mean, we're not able to stretch ourselves too thin. We are both very new to the business and to this kind of business, but we do have a great working relationship, and so we're a good team, and we're trying to face challenges as they present themselves in a way that So we're being cautious, but we're also being ambitious with our goals. So there is that balance that we are playing with, and so far so good. So we have a business that supplies small markets and restaurants in town. We do farmers market. We have a cart at the FedEx Forum, and slowly but surely, we're trying to add more opportunities for, maybe direct sales to the public, and also grow our market in general, both in Memphis and Nashville for the moment. Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit of the big picture so far.
So, to go through restaurants to begin with.
I'm sorry, I keep messing up with my Zoom. I apologize. There you go.
Yeah. So going through restaurants and going that route was really quite a smart idea, because it meant you didn't have to worry too much about all the packaging and branding and promotions and things like that. And to start your business in that way gave you the opportunity to refine your process, and you obviously make all your own stuff
absolutely
in your kitchen. So it gave you an opportunity to really work on it before you started selling to the general public, really.
Right, exactly. So we do have this kind of double model, which is, of course, sell prepackaged cups that are going for retail. Some of the restaurants also buy these cups, but, we also have restaurants where we can kind of, of course, provide, gallons at a time, and they do their own scooping. And so that certainly speeds up the process. Also at the FedEx Forum, our cart is a scooping cart. So again, we don't have to worry about packaging. And so, when you deal with packaging a lot, of course, part of the challenge is really just to have a packaging that hits the customer's eye and is visible or recognizable. So we've been focusing a lot on our branding and presentation. And so we're also trying to always keep an eye on that. So far, the response has been pretty positive. People recognize our product, even if they maybe are not aware of what they bought, but when they see it, they say, "Oh yeah, I've tried this before." So at least it stays in people's mind.
See, in Memphis as a market, and gelato seems like it's such a new product around here. Everybody's familiar with ice cream and all the stuff that goes with that. And I've been fortunate to visit other cities where gelato, there's specialty stores and stuff like that. So really, you're sort of breaking into ground that's fairly unproven around here. And so you have sort of an opportunity to put the name right up against the word gelato, and educate people as to what the difference is between what they traditionally see as ice cream and gelato, that mix. And separate those things out. So when they sell it in the restaurants, do they sell it under your brand, or is it just
we've been very careful choosing the right partners, but one of the things that we like to ask is that the restaurants don't serve our gelato as generic gelato, but it's branded on their menu, so people are aware that what they're eating is our gelato and is our product. And as I said, so far I'm pretty sure that it's a fairly standard request. So I don't think we're very demanding in that respect. But I guess anybody who has a little bit of pride in their product would like to have some kind of recognition. And the restaurants themselves, because there's nothing wrong for a restaurant to just go out there and serve some of the big names, big distributors ice creams that are around, and I'm sure that a lot of people do that. But at that point, there's no real need to advertise some of those big names. Whereas here it turns into some kind of a synergy between, the owner of the restaurant and our business, so it's kind of a win-win.
Yeah. So the restaurant gets to advertise that they sell local produced product.
Exactly.
Rather than just some sort of national thing. So it's good for them too, because everybody wants to be local these days. And
yes.
those local things. But if you were to branch if you're going to branch out into storefronts, I think you mentioned, at one point you think about storefronts. Is seasonality an issue?
I would say that it definitely is. I mean, it's a business that, we notice throughout the year. Of course, it has its ups and downs. I mean, of course, this is the busiest time of the year for us. Although we've been fairly lucky that, the flow of the business hasn't really dipped too much in the cold months, but there is inevitably a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So the seasonality for a storefront, of course, I guess one of the main thing would be, it impacts the time, the launch of the business. Once you're open, you try to be open all the time and every month, but you kind of want to get a good kickstart whenever the thing is starting. So that's she's an organization here in town that works with a lot of local farmers, and they also have a commercial kitchen that is available for makers in town, and so we can rent it and have all of our production set up here. Right. Yeah.
So when if somebody else, because so many people have great ideas for food products, whether it's gelato, hot sauce, and all these sort of things. Mm-hmm. How did you go about? You mentioned the kitchen that you have, and I was lucky enough to talk to somebody a couple of weeks ago about a kitchen that they rent out space into. Can you tell us about how that works?
So the whole process is, fairly straightforward. I mean, you need a certified kitchen, and there are a few in town, and at that point, of course, you need to, on your business side, you need your business license. You need to be certified to you need to certify your process of producing whatever you make, because you learn sometimes the hard way that you need to make adjustments to the process to be able to meet all the requirements that health department and the Department of Agriculture does that. So it's very you learn from your mistakes a lot, and it seems like it's a very the food industry in general, and we were warned when we started it, is very strict, and it's a hard business, and there's very little room to try to cut corners, it seems. Especially if you want to have everything in place to really grow your business. If you're doing things a little bit under the radar, I mean, maybe I'm sure that you can, but if everything needs to be done properly, you kind of have to make sure that your process is approved, so that then whatever you do, that is covered and you can just go up and grow. Yeah. As far as partnering with kitchens, the main thing is really just find the place that has all the equipment that you need, or that allows you to bring in whatever is needed, that has the storage space you need, etc. But
it's such a big step to go from cooking at home and manufacture at home and distributing through your friends and
absolutely
relatives, and thinking that you've got a great idea, but then you come across the bureaucracy and all the
bureaucracy
that gets in that way. And obviously with food products, it's certainly if you're selling it to the public, or even when you're going through restaurants, it's got to be done in a way that is right and proper. And
for sure.
But having encountered bureaucracy myself a few times, it tends to be a little overboard, a little overzealous in certain areas that don't seem important. So that I would imagine it's like research into what is required before you get too ambitious about it, because it's such a big step up to do that. What does the future hold for you guys?
Well, the future is very much like keeping our ears to the ground and see where the demand is. We've started, as I said, a couple of years ago, we started off with 3 or 4 flavors. Now we're up to 10. So we're just trying to also increase our offering without trying to have too many flavors, not because there's something wrong in having too many flavors, but as you're beginning, you really want to just make sure that, you know, whatever you offer has a demand out there. And so far, we've been lucky that whatever we've pulled out has been well received, and so it keeps selling and moving. So as far as offering, that's the strategy. We definitely have a few tricks up our sleeves that are about to drop in terms of the product. Then, as far as our presence, increase our presence, you know, we have pretty much all the small, medium-sized markets, you know, from grocery stores covered. A lot of great partners in some of the restaurants in town. Growing in that, you know, in that department is definitely a goal. Like, there are certain areas of town that are a little less covered, so we're trying to also reach out to a little bit more people. And I'm talking about both here in Memphis and Nashville at the same time, so that we have the opportunity to just grow in that way. And then whenever it's coming, it's whenever the time comes, you know, we're exploring the storefront option still. So.
Yeah. So,
okay.
From what you said, it sounds like you pivoted a few times from your original idea. So,
yes,
people who are getting into business, I would imagine that's one of the big things to pass on, is that you've got to be responsive and be willing to make changes in order to advance the process.
Yeah, that is definitely the biggest lesson we've learned so far. It's I think it's great to have a very well outlined plan.
Yeah.
But also, you know, because of course it's always like, you know, when people say, oh, you know, try to learn the rules before you can break them. Yeah. So that's kind of our so we have the rules and the plan well learned. Yeah. And now we're trying to so you can also learn how to be flexible enough whenever some you know, curveball is thrown at you. And, you know, hopefully it's not always going to be a major curveball like a pandemic. Right. But at least that, you know, the good thing about it was a curveball that hit us all at the same time. It wasn't just like a specific sector, so we were all in the same boat. So we were all adjusting, and it kind of gave us a start that turned out to be probably the best way to start a business. You know, it's kind of what probably the quintessential soft opening to a business. And we could dip our toes in the water without, you know, taking too many risks. And so there was a little less at stake, and we had a good chance to figure out what was working, what wasn't.
So even you know, the arrival of the pandemic and the period of time that we were under that lockdown and stuff, it gave you an opportunity to maybe reduce your investment somewhat, because you were thinking about storefronts. It gave you a chance to build a reputation through those other resources, through those other outlets.
Exactly. So that was very much like a good blessing in disguise in terms of starting the business. Of course, you know, once you're in business, you have to be ready to take risks, and it's not always going to be like a soft opening. Sometimes you have to go all in, and sometimes you just have to really dive into the unknown.
Yeah.
But it feels like after at least a couple of years, you do have more knowledge about what may be waiting for you. So it helps.
The entrepreneur that goes in thinking they know how it's going to work is destined to fail. It's
right. And both Ryan and I come from, you know, different background, but we for a long time we've been working in film and video, and so if there's anything more volatile than that, I don't know what it is. So you really have to just be ready to face all kinds of challenges, and, you know, just hit your head on the wall many times, both out of frustration and out of the fact that you don't see the wall in front of you until the very last minute.
Yeah.
So you learn how to maneuver and how to face challenges, because like everything, I think it's just the persistence is the key. We, even in just a short time, like 2 years, we could have maybe reasonably, we could have given up already a couple of times because of something that, things that happened. And, instead you just kind of pack it in and then try to get ready again.
Yeah.
And you keep moving
forward, and
for sure,
just stay focused on what you want to be the eventual outcome. And
for sure,
it's easy, obviously in the business coaching area, and people lose sight of their end goal with the everyday work that's going on. And so it becomes a job rather than their business. And
yeah, exactly.
That's the biggest thing that, when I talk to people, I find is that they're just in the routine of the job, and they've lost focus on building that value or building that business for whatever their future is.
Right.
Needs to keep sight of what that end goal is. Where can we learn a bit more about you and your business? You have a website we can go to?
Yeah, we definitely have a website. It's ziomatto.com. And we have, we're on all social media at Zio Matto Gelato. And we try to, keep everybody informed about new flavors, new locations, anything about our events, where we're going to be, and trying to spread the word about, the fact that people can hire us for their catering needs and, or whatever events they have going on. And, and hopefully soon also, about more and new exciting locations, flavors, and everything else.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been great hearing about your experience. And I love the fact that, once again, I'm interviewing somebody who's come to this country after traveling around and found a place to make themselves and make a business and make it happen. And there's so many of those great stories, and I'm glad you were able to spend the time with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me and us as a business. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, so to everybody, just let's keep grinding.
That's all right. Thank you so much, Matteo. I'll talk to you soon.